daughter and their own sick days for when they get sick. This has got to be some kind of freak circumstance. Surely it's not like a trend or something. Surely not everything is terrible. What's that? Everything is terrible? Splendid. Yep. As it turns out, this whole teachers who spend their lives trying to educate our children don't have enough sick days for when they get cancer is actually kind of a thing here in the US of A. But don't worry, it looks like other school administrators who also have cancer will donate some of their sick days. So cool. All the feels. Fun puff piece, let's run that. Here's a fun, clickable story. On average, teachers only make about $60,000 a year nationwide. And that's an average, so many teachers, especially in lower income areas, are making much, much less than that. In many states, the average is only around $40,000 a year. On top of the generally low salary that teachers receive, they also receive only about 10 to 12 sick days per year. And if you, say, get breast cancer, you have to pay out of pocket to cover the cost of a substitute teacher while you enjoy the luxury of chemotherapy. And yes, this exact scenario did actually happen to a real elementary school teacher. So when you see the headlines, a teacher ran out of sick days to stay with his cancer-stricken daughter, so his colleagues donated 100 days, or a teacher battling cancer ran out of sick days, school employees showered him with theirs, or orphan boy with 2 broken arms sells lemon juice to pay for own adoption and surgery. It's not a nice story. It's a very terrible story that has been framed in a sort of feel-good way. Although that orphan boy, what entrepreneurial spirit. Every time he squeezes a lemon to make lemon juice, it hurts his tiny broken arms. But gosh dang it, that's the sort of rags to lemon juice story our country was built on. When life gives you no parents and 2 broken arms, make a small business. Now, here's the heartwarming tale of a teacher who was battling stage 3 colon cancer and who, after 23 years of faithful teaching, wasn't given enough sick days to get chemotherapy for his cancer. Adorkable! The article is clearly framed as a feel-good piece, rather than a chilling look into an endless dystopian nightmare. The article describes the teacher who, in desperation, reached out for help on Facebook. CNN writes, within 4 days he had enough sick days to cover an entire semester. He couldn't believe it happened so fast, Goodman, 56, told CNN. See? Problem solved. In 4 days! Humanity came through. Goosebumps. All the feels. CNN goes on to write, teachers, staff members, administrators, and even lunchroom workers who pay into the Florida retirement system transferred 75 sick days to Goodman. I don't want to take away from how genuinely good-hearted these people are. The teachers, staff, administrators, and lunchroom workers are all likely underpaid, overworked, and still donated their sick days, which they might need someday to be sick because they're good people. But just because they themselves are good and their actions heartwarming, the situation itself is not heartwarming. And framing it as such distracts us from the gritty reality that a man who taught for 23 years wasn't given enough sick days to cover his cancer treatment. The article is full of beautiful aphorisms such as missing school but still teaching a lesson. The lesson being that if you get cancer after 23 years of teaching, you'd better hope the lunchroom workers have enough spare sick days to cover you, because while this story had a happy ending, many similar stories do not. Take, for instance, the example I mentioned earlier, where teachers have had to pay for their own substitutes while undergoing cancer treatment. Or teachers who earn so little they can barely afford to pay for childcare for their own children. Or sometimes, even when someone tries to do the right thing, the kind, warm-hearted thing, instead of getting a feel-good ending, it results in someone losing their jobs. Here's a fun little story. In 2014, Jennifer Mitz, a Tennessee high school teacher, took a sick student to the hospital. The 20-year-old student had a high fever, didn't have transportation, and didn't have health insurance. Mitz paid for the student's hospital costs out of her own pocket. What a touching story. I'm sure that's where it ends, with everyone hugging and maybe a doctor comes into the room, but the doctor's a Labrador retriever in a lab coat. Please just let me have this one. Please? No? Fine. I will continue to suffer. Well, This kind-hearted teacher was allegedly forced to resign. The school administrators argued that she'd been warned before for taking another sick student to the hospital. Maybe the school administration thought they were doing the right thing. Maybe they themselves feared retribution. I don't think they're monsters who don't care about children. But this incident does show that good deeds don't always make up for a profoundly broken system. A system where if you don't have health insurance, well, you'd better hope you have a teacher willing to risk being fired over driving you to the hospital. This isn't the only time someone has been punished for trying to help a student who lacked health insurance. This year, a superintendent was arrested and charged with felony insurance fraud for taking a student sick with strep throat to the doctor and paying for his antibiotics. As this student didn't have insurance, she tried to pay out of her own pocket, but the clinic refused, so she took him to another clinic, lying and saying he was her son so they would treat him under her insurance. After being charged with felony insurance fraud, she resigned from her position and said, "I knew he did not have insurance, and I wanted to do all I could to help him get well. I know this action was wrong. In the moment, my only concern was for this child's health." Don't you worry, folks. This dangerous criminal doing helping sick uninsured children crimes has learned her lesson not to help anyone again. The prosecutor in the case scolded her, saying, "What kind of message is that to send to the students you're in charge of?" And thank God they arrested this woman before she could teach children to try and help others. What's next? Teaching children that they should want to provide poor people with health care? That was a close call, but we nabbed her, boys. So even if you want to do the right thing, to try to help someone who is neglected by our society, sometimes your actions will be against the rules and you'll be punished for it. It's almost as if the health insurance industry's main priority is to make money and not to help people. And the police are there to enforce rules that benefit the insurance industry, but not that. No, that would be incredibly distressing and bleak and would require we actually do something to change our society. So hey, here's a story about an adorable kitten. We have an update to the story. God damn it. You see, for every feel-good story about someone managing to navigate through the broken glass and the flaming barrels of toxic waste that makes up our society are hundreds of stories of people who aren't so lucky. For instance, check out this headline. Totes adorable. But then, this. Turns out a 9-year-old's allowance, in fact, cannot solve institutional poverty. Now, I'm not trying to be like a massive Debbie Downer, sad sack, killjoy, McBuzzkill, although that is the name of one of my albums from my alt-rock band, We're Turbo F***ed. My point is that the saturation of feel-good, suffering stories inoculate us against absorbing how unfair and cruel much of our society has become. And sometimes these stories are straight-up marketing ploys. Check out this headline. KFC gifts new car to employee who walks 6 miles a day for job. And KFC just really cares, you guys. The Colonel's out there giving cars to his employees. I know he acts like a tough guy, but that white mustache is a mask that hides just how much he cares about each and every one of those single moms who work for him. And that little white soul patch, it's because he has a soul, you guys. Deep down in his heart, he's a finger-licking good person. Or, this is an empty, calculated marketing ploy by the company to appear charitable towards their employees barely making minimum wage. In this story, the single mom had been struggling to save up for a car. Her boss entered her into KFC's Kentucky Fried Wishes contest. Now, sure, it was nice of her boss to enter her into this contest, and who can blame her for being happy for winning a much-needed car? But let's look into KFC's grand gesture here, which news organizations were credulously reporting as a beautiful, heartwarming move by the company, saying things like, quote, KFC is really trying to drive home the point that it appreciates its employees. Ah, nice, a car pun, since she didn't have a car. Or on CBS, where they wrote, quote, The special honors given to KFC employees by the KFC Foundations